Benchwarmers, what's going on? It's your weekly fantasy episode. My name's Diego, and I'm joined on this recording by Marco the Interrupter. We're going over the preview for your game week 34 deadline. Unfortunately, we have another Friday deadline among us, so it's going to be Friday afternoon. Leicester City have the first fixture of the game week, facing off away to Southampton. All those people that have Kalechi in their teams, if you don't, you should have them already. If you have Vardy, you should probably keep him. But if you want to switch back to Kane and Son, we'll go over all of those conundrums and some of the rumors for the double game weeks coming up, with the idea or the plan that games get postponed in order to have home fans finally back in the stadiums, which would be amazing. A simple, gentle, and friendly reminder that you can always catch us on your favorite podcasting platforms, being Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google Podcasts by searching Benchwarmers FC. And Marco, they can always catch our cute faces on our channel, which is
Benchwarmers FC TV on YouTube.
you can also interact with us on social media, be it Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter by searching Benchwarmers FC1. Going over some of the important things of the game week, Marco, how'd you do this week? At least for maybe is that a precursor? You had a snoozer in the game week for 33?
Pretty much. I mean, in the overall result of Gap versus Marco, I mean, it doesn't benefit me, but I did do above average. Above the average was 36. I
Okay.
did 55, which is good. I took big hits. I think I took 12-point hit for this past weekend. I think it was 12, maybe 8. I can't remember. I think it was 12. So did it benefit me? No. It didn't work out my end.
Jesus. Oh my God, you did.
Yeah. At this point, I have very few weeks to make it to the now 104 points difference. So I gotta go big, gotta go home.
Yes, let's close the gap. Let's close the gap, Marco. Yes.
So did it benefit me? No. Gat walked away with 64. I walked away with 55. Um, I brought in Barty thinking that he would do something,
Didn't we all?
and it bit me in the ass because he not only walked away with 2 points, Iheanacho scored and assisted. Gat captained him. I captained Salah. He only scored. And worst part is I brought Watkins back, 5 points on the bench for no reason. So yeah, it worked. It went well, but it's not what I needed. I needed more,
Yes.
and then I didn't have the team for more.
That's all right. That's all right. You did have 55 points though, which is not bad. It's not bad at all. And I think you are well poised for the coming weeks. You have Diaz in there. You have Watkins, probably one of the more noticeable or, I guess, attainable cheap budget forwards for the rest of the season. Those are some names that are going to come up for who we should pick for the rest of the season to be our third striker. But you have a good setup. Rudiger, Alexander Arnold. Your midfield is pretty loaded with the likes of Lingard, Bruno, Salah, Jota, and then Vardy and Iheanacho have favorable fixtures. That's really the reason why a lot of people have Kalechi to begin with. Not just his form, but the fact that they had some pretty green fixtures coming up with Southampton and Newcastle. They end the season kind of tough against United, Chelsea, and Spurs. So there's probably going to be a mass exodus of Leicester assets in the final game weeks of the season. But we'll see if he can keep up the form. And he's doing double-digit hauls every other week. Looking at his form right now,
Mm-hmm.
it starts back in game week 26, almost 7 matches ago, with a 9 pointer against Burnley. And then after that, 9, 17, 2, 13, 6, 12. Every other week since then, he's been averaging double digit hauls. So maybe this Southampton game is the one that he blanks in. Maybe it's worth having Vardy. Who knows? But just to go over the rest of our Benchwarmers FC Fantasy League, Alkin United sitting pretty in first place with 55 points on a 2015 point total. I'm closely behind him in second place with 1988. Third place, our very own Josue with his team Sonaldo 7. And scrolling down, further down, way down, we have Gat in 12th place, Nick in 13th. Let's see here, Eric in 19th, and Marco in 20th. You're only, I think, 10 points away from Eric, actually.
Yeah, but from a person that stopped carrying back in December, I mean, he's still doing better
Yeah.
than me.
Yeah. Oh my God. Chilwell, Shaw. Martinelli, Fernandez, Salah, and he has Tammy Abraham, Ings, and Tierney, who are all not playing almost at all. Well, Ings is red flagged, but still, let's maybe we should make the new challenge finishing above Eric. Hopefully, he doesn't listen to this and start trying suddenly.
He will listen to it. He will laugh at me because he's like, "Bro, I still beat you, and I wasn't even trying."
Chill. That's the new goal. Then we can't finish below Eric. We cannot.
We can't finish below Eric, and yet it's not an accomplishment.
So we can. So going over the watch list for this week, some of the defenders that we want to try to highlight. I think the Wolves players are pretty much off the watch list. I had Saiz in there just in case I wanted to double up on Wolves defense. That 4-0 drubbing by Burnley put me off a lot. They play West Brom, and West Brom have been averaging, I think, a goal per game, if I'm not mistaken, at least a goal per game. Let me see here. I just want to make sure, and I'll go with Johnstone just so I can make sure. Well, aside from the Leicester match, they beat Southampton, they beat Chelsea, they tied against Villa, so they've been scoring, and I think the clean sheets for Wolves are pretty much done because afterwards they play Brighton, Spurs, Everton, and then end the season against United at home. So Saiz, unfortunately, I've had to say goodbye to him on the watch list. A few other players that I took off, the Chelsea defenders. I know there's some people that are tripled up on Chelsea. I have Aspi right now on my back line. I don't really trust them, especially with this Champions League run. They do play Fulham in this upcoming week. I'm gambling. I'm very, very, very hard gambling if I keep Aspi on my squad or not. I feel like he might be benched. He got subbed off a bit early in their Champions League match, but again, I don't. I just don't know. I feel like they to Tommy T, Tuchel, the Tuchel turnstiles or whatever it was that Gat had mentioned for the little alternative to a Pep Roulette on how he rotates his players heavily. I would assume that maybe Tommy T would like to play a strong squad against Fulham just so that they could get those 3 points out of the way and then maybe take them off early and focus on their Champions League tie against Madrid next week. They do have City, Arsenal, and then Leicester right after. So I think now would be a good time to dump possibly those Chelsea players. Now, one of the things that I'm going to touch on, and I'm going to be sprinkling it here and there in this episode really quickly, is the possibility of a double game week for several teams in game week 35. And we're looking at teams like Villa, Palace, Everton, Southampton, Arsenal, Chelsea, Leicester, and United. So Chelsea do have a projected double. It's not confirmed yet of playing City and Arsenal back to back in game week 35, which I think is awful as far as the defensive assets. Arsenal did happen to turn things around against Chelsea, and I feel like they may have their number. So you just never know. Uh, I've taken off Rudiger. I wanted to try to flip him from Aspi because he's cheaper and he's been starting. I could still maybe consider that, but then I'm kind of stuck with Rudiger for the time being, and I would have to do it for a hit because I'm also considering bringing back the Spurs guys. In the midfield, though, Lingard firmly on the watch list, Greenwood and Rashford back on it as well. They're two players that featured heavily today in the 6-2 win against Roma. I was also considering Bruno. So Marco, you have Bruno, and going over his last 6 game weeks, his scores are 3-2-2-5-3 and 10. 10 against Man City. So how does that make you feel as far as keep or sell? What does your
um,
gut tell you?
I mean, it's one player that I can kind of confidently say is going to be consistently playing. Because he has. I don't recall when was the last time he was subbed out. Do you? Because
Uh,
you're a Man U fan and you watch it. So
he was the last time that he was left out,
no,
like left out.
subbed out.
No, subbed out in the league, subbed out early. I mean, you could consider the Spurs game. He was subbed off at the 89th.
There you go.
But
So he was subbed out, and not even, and it wasn't even because he was hurt or it was they want to kill time. So if you want a secure 2 points on a player that costs 10 point or 8 or whatever it is,
He's 11.5.
you go even worse, then I'd say keep him. But if you think that there's a player out there that will make the difference, I'd say go for it. Right now, I think I will do that change. Not this week, but I do consider doing it next week.
Next week.
Because again, I have to go all out. So if I have to bring in some randoms, if I think that they're gonna be doing well, if I have to do a lineup of Kane and Bale again, I'll do it. And
Mm.
I might have to sacrifice Fernandez not this week, but maybe consider it for next week.
Maybe next week. That's interesting. Coming in hot with the Spurs triple up. And that's actually one of the players that you might even consider for Fernandez. So the topic right now is Fernandez keep or sell. I honestly was on the same page as you, Marco. I think that for 11.5, his numbers just haven't been the same as in the beginning of the season. So between game weeks 1 and like 25, he was doing great. And he had, I think in that span, I'm looking at it right now, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He had 10 double digit scores in that first period between game weeks 1 and 25, 10 double digit scores. And he had a few others where he had maybe a 9 pointer, a 7 pointer. His returns were great, but after that City game, uh they haven't been the same. You know, the 2-0 draws against Chelsea and Palace back to back. I think that's where fatigue kind of broke into a little bit, not just for United, but for a lot of the players. And then right now, I think that the performance, I don't want to be blindsided, but I feel like the performance against Roma gives them good momentum against Liverpool. Will they beat Liverpool? Will it be a high scoring game? I honestly I don't have much faith for that, simply because their form against the top six sides have been either nil-nil draws or um, I think the only team that they beat so far had been City, and then they beat Spurs. So maybe they play Liverpool at home though, and at home there's been some issues. So I won't get too much into United precisely, but I think Bruno is a keep, and only because the projected double game week for United is against Villa and Leicester in game week 35, so immediately after. So if I sell Bruno just to bring him in for the double, and then if they double, they blank in 36, and you have a player that doesn't even play. I think it just puts me in a hole that I'm going to be uncomfortable with. So I might bite the bullet, keep him against Liverpool, and then look elsewhere to improve my squad. But going back to the watch list, and going back to players that I'm looking at to pick up, there's quite a few people that have Shaw, and I'm not sure if I mentioned Shaw yet on the defenders. I know I moved towards midfielders, but just bringing up Shaw and his chance creation, I think, especially when United are able to clean sheet in a game, he's usually among the bonus points, and he's still under 20% owned. So at 5.4, that could also be someone to consider because he's been playing consistently. And even though Telles has been on the squad, I think that's someone to probably pick up. And as far as the other defenders, there is Chilwell, who is doing great, but I want to shout out two specifically. Castang from Leicester, I had brought him up on the watch list. I think he's a solid buy for the next 2 weeks. If you want someone who's a differential, only 6.5% owned. There's someone else in another mini league that picked him up, and I hadn't yet, and I was kind of upset about that. I should have probably taken the hit instead of swapping out Kane. I probably should have swapped in Castang and seen how it went. But still, either a Leicester defender or an Everton defender, because Pickford with Everton looks pretty good as far as the goalies are concerned. They play Villa, West Ham, Sheffield, and Wolves in their next four. And I think those games are very much on their side for Everton, that need to get a bit more momentum under their sails to be able to finish well for the rest of the season. Another one that keeps coming on and off the watch list, a midfielder back again, Mateus Pereira. And I know somewhere, either in his car, maybe in his bathroom, or very weirdly in a shower, I'm not trying to picture it, I'm just saying it, Gad is listening to this, and we had a little spat off air, Marco, where he said that he was betting that Pereira was going to put in a shift for West Brom, and I told him that it was bollocks because they're playing against the Villa side that shut them out last time, and it was Martinez, and they were absolutely shambolic. Aston Villa were freaking shambolic. And even though he didn't like, here's the thing, he, he walked away with 10 points, but as far as the match was concerned, I don't know. I said that uh, our little bet was going to be just an honorable mention for him keeping the faith for West Brom. So there you go, Gat. There's your honorable mention. I hope you're very happy and content and jumping for joy because that's the last time I ever take advice from you for the fantasy pod. So moving forward to the forwards, Chris Wood, Ollie Watkins, and maybe possibly Bamford. Those are the three names that I'm going to bring up right now for your budget forwards. There were some other players that I was considering, players like Lacazette, players even like who was one of the forward for West Brom, I think is De Jong, Cavani as well, but they're just not getting, either they're injured or they're not getting minutes. So Chris Wood, it's very weird to bring up Chris Wood right now on the watch list, but they play West Ham this week, and then they follow up with Fulham and then Leeds, and then they end the season against Sheffield. So they do play Liverpool in between in their last 5 matches, but ending the year, the season against Sheffield, I think it's a given. If you want to punt on Chris Wood, I'm laughing because I can't believe I'm saying this. The Burnley, the Kiwi Burnley forward, only 2.8% owned, a heavy differential. I could honestly, but I would have to take quite a few hits. So I gotta make a decision quick if I'm going to do that. So looking forward to the transfers, Marco. Looking at your squad, I know you were saying that you're talking about the Spurs boys. Give us a transfer that you're planning for game week 34.
I'm bringing Kane back without a doubt.
Straight up.
It's straight up. If I'm gonna make a switch, I have the coin, I have the money on my bank. I
Got
know
the
exactly who
coin.
I know exactly who I'm taking out. As of right now, it's fuck Barty. Barty Party is no longer. And that might bite me in the ass this week if he does come back and scores like a hat trick because that can happen.
Good.
And knowing my luck, it might happen. But as of right now, and this bit me in the ass in the past, Kane should technically be able to score one or more goals against Sheffield, a
Yes.
team that has already been relegated. We already know that is relegated. Um, that had nothing to fight for except for their own honor and for a couple points just for shits and giggles. So I'm bringing in Kane and I'm captaining him as well.
Bringing in Kane in the reverse fixture. Spurs had beaten Sheffield 3-1 away from home. Now they play them at home. I think it's a perfect way for Tottenham to probably bounce back. They play Leeds, Wolves, and Villa afterward, and then end their season against Leicester City. Spurs aren't one of the teams that are projected to have a double in 35. However, Marco was saying the triple up, and I think that's quite a viable option because if you do triple up, the teams that double in game week 35, 4 of them are projected to blank in 36, and that is Chelsea, Arsenal, United, and Leicester. This is probably information that you already know if you follow the amazing Ben Krellin on Twitter, but going off of his planner that he's put out so kindly for all of us, it looks like if you do try to load up on those Leicester or Chelsea, if you have Chelsea or United assets, especially because they're very template right now, I think that it's going to give you some headaches in 36, and you're going to have to make some swaps for hits if you want to try to keep up with the pack. So tripling up on Spurs, like Marco was saying, if you want to get Sonny, Bale, and Kane back into your squad and just go for it, just swing for it, I say why not? Why not? It's perfectly possible, especially with a young manager that wants to try to finish the season out strongly. It looks like their games are there for them to lose, and they definitely need it as far as their position goes because in the table, they're right on the cusp of getting those Champions League spots because they're only 5 points away from fourth place Chelsea and on 58 points. So I think those teams, especially again Everton, that's something else that I was mentioning. Everton on 52 points. Not just their defenders, but even Calvert Lewin. And the thing is that I'm done with Calvert Lewin for the season. You guys can have a great time with him if you want to pick him up. The same with Manchester City assets. I've written off City assets for the rest of the season too. I don't want to suffer knowing whether or not my players have started or not. I walked into the same damn trap with Chelsea and Tuchel's turnstiles, with him swapping out players every other match and trying different formations and combinations. There was a graphic, Marco, of him with with his front three combinations, and I think there was over a dozen different ones that he had so far this season, and how they did in the games that they were deployed, playing the combinations of like Werner, Ziyech, Mount, Werner, Ziyech, Pulisic, Giroud, Pulisic, Mount, and like just like all over the place. So I'm digressing. Everton, Spurs, Liverpool, West Ham, all to play for, and especially Chelsea. I think Leicester are a bit safe in third place right now. I think they have the fixtures to back up their third slot in the table. But if you want to gamble, this is differential time, Marco. If you want to swing, got to swing big, just like you said earlier in the recording.
Yes, and I'm gonna swing big. I'm going in for Kane,
Oh God.
and I'm gonna swing big.
Oh
I'm going in
God.
for James.
Oh,
Just kidding.
going in
I
for
would never do that.
James.
I'd never do that. Why the fuck would I waste my coin on fucking bringing James, the
Jill, what
fucking
are you talking about?
extremely overrated player
What are you
that
talking
nobody
about?
fucking wants? That you
What do
can
you
tell that he
mean?
has not done shit for the team.
Listen. I'm just telling you right now. Looking at Everton's numbers, looking at James's numbers in the midfield, there's a case for Sigurdsson. There's a case for Sigurdsson.
Yes,
And
he's also a penalty taker.
he's also on the pens. Scored 15 points against Tottenham, sandwiched by 2 blanks against Brighton and Arsenal. But again, their fixture list: Villa, West Ham, Sheffield, Wolves. I think it's perfectly poised for them to get something out of it. If you have the extra coin, James is also there, a bit more consistent with his game numbers. 11, 3, 6, and 3 in his last four. He has 1 goal and 1 assist. But again, yes, I think
Ooh,
because he's cheaper, I think maybe Sigurdsson is the way to go because he's on the penalties. Um,
I'm gonna
I
consider Sigurdsson if I was that desperate.
All right, because you're going for James. You're going for James. That's why.
No, because I'm not touching any player from
Going
Everton.
for James. So Calvert-Lewin with 1 goal in his last 10 matches. I'm sorry. Some people want to go for Calvert-Lewin. Honestly, for me, if I were to go for a budget forward this week and to have that third striker just to cover myself, it would honestly be Chris Wood. I would go for Chris Wood. Uh, and now we're going to look at captaincy for game week 34. So Southampton play Leicester away. And there are a few other good matches here, including Man City Crystal Palace. But the thing is that I don't see many people with Man City players. There's a few odd like Mahrez's and Foden's somewhere,
I still have Diaz.
sprinkled in teams. Some people still have Diaz. You have him as well. So, in my opinion, I think honestly, Spurs guys are number one captain pick. Either Sonny or Bale or Kane, if you have them. I think against Sheffield United, you can't really go wrong. Second in line, just because of their form and because we know they're doing well, either Iheanacho or Vardy for Leicester. Then you have two differential matches, which I think just because of ownership, a Man City player or a Chelsea attacker against Fulham. The thing here, though, is that if I remember correctly, I think they beat Fulham 1-0 away, and it was tight. It was a tight match, and I believe that just based on the table, Fulham has to do as much as they can to try to get a draw out of this match. They haven't they've been playing well, but luck just hasn't been on their side, especially that what was it? I think it was like a 90 something minute equalizer, and Scott Parker was just like in complete dismay in their match last week.
Yeah,
Who did they play? Oh no, wait, am I crazy? Am I going crazy? Was it the week before? Oh, against yes, against Arsenal. Sorry, it was 2 weeks ago against Arsenal. Yes, because they just blanked in 33. So on game week 32, that unlucky draw when they were poised to get 3 points, which would have helped them out. I think against Chelsea, they might give them a problem. So Man City, I think, is the other one that you might want to consider a captaincy uh, for a differential. Some alternatives, if you want to go for Bruno, if you want to maybe do Trent or Salah, I honestly don't know how that game is going to go. As far as a win, I would love a win for United, but again, I don't know how that game is going to go. It could be another 0-0, just like in the beginning of the season, um, especially because United haven't been that great at home, and Liverpool seem to be doing a bit better away as well. They haven't found much success at Anfield anyway. But I think that really wraps up the episode for this week. Remember, guys, it is the time, like Marco said, to swing big and try to make up the ground in your mini leagues. Wishing you guys all the luck. You got your honorable mention for your Pereira shout, and he's not going to score a single goal for the rest of the season. You can guarantee that. For everyone else, good luck in your leagues. Make sure you take hits only when necessary. And remember, always
But when you're
remember,
desperate,
it's a marathon, not a sprint. My name is Diego, joined on this episode by Marco the Interrupter. And always remember, we're the Benchwarmers. This is the bench with a voice, where the bench is always warm. Peace, everybody.
disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer,
Disclaimer, disclaimer.
disclaimer.